Welcome back to the English broadcast of the LPL. We're tuning in once again to Chongqing in the Snake Pit, where T.o.p currently, as the challenger today, have set the arena on fire. They are just destroying Snake right now. We had, what, like a 30-minute pause followed by 20 minutes of gameplay because T.o.p just completely destroyed them.
It was definitely a demolition. It was one of those moments where you expected Snake to recognize, yeah, they have an early game composition, place defensive wards, and oh, someone died in the lane. XX got a successful gank in the bottom lane. Oh, wait a minute, Quogo just died in the bush. And I was like, wait a second. Okay, so many individual, I wouldn't call them outright errors, but they definitely did not expect that many opportunities created for T.o.p.
Yeah, and T.o.p coming into the second game just don't need to change a whole lot, to be honest. They're chaining no subs, totally fine. I don't know, they chose blue side this time around, so they'll actually swap in priority right here. But again, I loved what we saw in their draft, and I loved what I saw in-game as well.
Yeah, I think what that means now looking forward is suddenly Graves' priority is super high. Remember, T.o.p just outright banned Graves, Braum, and the Taric pick because they didn't want the gold funneling to go towards Snake. Now, Snake will do it anyways. That's a lesson learned. Now, allowing XX to go back towards his own Graves is something that Snake cannot allow. That means that Snake should ban out the Graves, and I would expect XX to either get a first pick on towards the Graves and again bad, sure.
Yep.
But also I would say the Camille and Lulu. So I want to see if those three picks are something that we get to see T.o.p get a hold of immediately, because that means their skirmishing potential is strong, their gank potential is strong, and if they have the Graves, then they are suddenly just very, very confident around XX in the early game and late game.
His Graves is also fantastic. We've also seen T.o.p run Lissandra before as well, as we were talking about in Game 1. So there's multiple ways for them to play around the pick, or even just by its lonesome it's going to be strong. So something to be thinking about for certain if you are Snake. Now on the opposite side, what do they have cooking? That's my question, Raz. I know you on many occasions, you've been cooking.
Hello?
But I want to know what Snake have in the back pocket, because there's always been something. This game, it was the Jace pick, and it was clear that they wanted there to be another pick in the mid lane that wasn't necessarily a Galio. They wanted a Braum, but that was also banned. So, what else do they have?
Let me make it... I'm going to just deflate that balloon. Because you're right, usually I'd be like, this time around, they're going to go back towards the Master Yi anyways. And that's what you want me to say.
Yes.
Maybe you'll want me to say, Heimerdinger jungler, let's see what this man can do. No, I actually expect him to go towards like either a Trundle or a Skarner. Something that has outright direction, so if they still want to go towards late game team fighting, they could say, actually, we can still have a fight around our flash ulti off of Skarner. Something that makes a lot of sense for SOFM. He's even started off the split with a Sejuani pick. A lot of people don't want to see that kind of play again, but if you can get out of the early game, if they can get out of the early game, this team fight's a lot more direct and a lot more forward, and if they fall behind like they fell behind here, they have a lot of ways to come back into the game with that team fight potential. With a pick potential off of it. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It just depends what gets left up in fans. These days, there's so many like power picks, you never really know what goes into the picking process. So this time around, Snake is just betting that a few picks doesn't go through. If it doesn't, then you know what, throw everything out the window.
And the other star player, or the player who's been taking to the spotlight, I should say, has been Maestro. Moving alongside SOFM. He's also the supporting cast. That is very, very important. So we'll see what he can do this game as well.
Yeah, he has a few supports up his sleeve. Always love to see what him and Gudia can do, because the benefit of them is that they can actually buff up the vision control that we know and love out of Snake as a team, but also the team fighting. I know that we've seen RNG yesterday lose in Game 1 based off of their double support compositions, but with Snake, they should continue to run that, because that means that there's so much protection for the backline, which is and should be SOFM. So if we don't get to see the tanks jungler, what I would love to see is a ranged jungler like a Lucian, a Zaya, just something that's being picked up for SOFM so we can make use out of Maestro and Hudia a little bit more. That's what I'd love to see.
What a time we live in, where I'm sat next to the jungle guy. What?
Only Marin.
Only Marin. Well, have I got news for you, buddy?
I'm throwing my ticket out immediately.
That's some fake news right there. Yeah, what a time we live in for the jungle person to be like, you know, I would love to see a ranged, I would love to see a Zaya in the jungle. It's just like, fantastic. You're absolutely right. Me too, Raz. Me too. Because we've seen the Kai'Sa come out of him. We know he can play other ranged junglers as well. Heck, we just saw the Jays come out of him. Not an AD carry, but similar thing coming through.
It's just absurd that for how many times he's played a bruiser jungler like an Aurelia, or a Rengar, for instance, that he has such a large damage percentage of his team. 28% is nothing to just blink your eyes at. That's something that most AD carries would love to see themselves get.
Yes.
If you have 29% damage percentage or 28 as an AD carry, you're probably top 3 in your role. So for the fact that SOFM is hitting that while still hitting at bruiser junglers, I would love to see him go for a ranged jungler. It's right down his avenue. Maybe that's one thing that he cannot play, but I think he can play it. I'm almost certain that the carry mentality of SOFM is playing a lot of AD carries in the at solo queue at the very least.
Yeah, so add some more ranged AD carries, and maybe that damage percentage just goes even higher off of that as well. That would be another thing to consider, because if you think about gold funnels that have happened on other teams, you look towards, you know, like an RNG where Uzi, he has been the funnel at the base of the funnel. You're looking at 50% damage shares coming out of him, and of course he only plays AD carries, so it makes sense. So if SOFM is rivaling that, you know, he could push that figure even higher.
100%. And you know what? Snake is inspiring teams across the globe. For all you North American fans out there, I apologize for what I'm about to say, but you've seen Optic games as well, playing both Gate and Big into their roster, double support, and they're doing that, recently realizing that you're going to get, I mean, the best support funneling player is going to be another support. So it's fun to see that being played. They subbed out their jungler to do that. So globally, it's nice to see teams look deep into their academy lineup and see what you can utilize. Snake has started off with Fudia and Maestro, but they're never going to sub out SOFM. SOFM is the head of that composition.
Oh, yeah.
So put this man
tip of the spear
on a carry or Pantheon. Anything that makes me happy. You can make Papa Raz happy, I'm happy.
Sometimes you just forget champions exist because you haven't seen him for so long, and you're like, Pantheon, oh yeah, that's a champion. Because there's like 130 plus champions in the game now, and more being added like every couple of months.
Yeah, a few changes definitely put him in the bin. One of them was the minion aggro, because at the very least you see Pantheon in solo queue, but you ain't going to see him if suddenly if he throws a Q, every minion hates his life.
Yeah. Yeah, same with like Malphite, etc. I do have an update for you guys. You just saw the Intel logo come up, and it was like, heck yeah, Champions Select, just kidding. We have another peripheral issue, and I believe it's the same one.
Oh my goodness.
So, again, we don't know which player it is or which team, but yeah, sorry about that, folks. We are going to try and resolve that as fast as possible. But isn't it remarkable that now the replacement has come in, and it's also preventing us from starting Champions Select? Fascinating.
We gotta find that human being. You gotta know who's doing it.
Lock him down.
I'm looking at Twitch chat right now. Somebody tell me, who do you think has that peripheral issue? That's the question for you.
Yes, Twitch detectives.
Yeah. Rivaling the Twitter detectives.
Sure. I'll try and find out who it is on my end, and we'll come in for the big reveal.
Okay. That would set up for a proper ending, good climax to a story. I don't know what's going to happen after we find out who it is.
That's true.
Maybe shame him on the internet.
I mean, there's no real reward. You just, you know, get it and maybe get a shout out on air. Also, shout outs to our Vietnamese fans who are tuning in.
Oh, there we go. That's
Always come over and watch the Snake games, supporting your man SOFM in jungle. Always good to have you here.
A lot of love for him. Now, it's true. SOFM gets that love. NA shares it. Of course, having Levi sit there as well.
Yeah. SOFM 2.0.
There we go. So you just see the... And I understand it. Whenever your pride and joy moves across the globe, you want to be able to track them. It's unfortunate that SOFM hasn't gotten that international display because he's always been stuck in the LPL, never finding the third place, the magic number 3 to get yourself to Worlds. Soon he will. I have faith. Yeah. I have faith that's going to happen, and the rest of the world is going to be introduced to the man who's going to sit in your jungle.
All right, Raz, what's Twitch saying? Have we got any guesses?
So far, I've got nobody. Let's see who he's.
Nobody.
Oh, someone says, Portable Corpse says, it's me, I'm sorry. Well, that case closed.
We found him.
Yeah, I'm going to shame you right now.
Admitted to the crime, must be guilty.
Real unfortunate. And someone says, yo mama. So this is me now closing my laptop. I'm sorry that I even gave it to you guys. You guys don't deserve a single question anymore.
Well, I found out who it is. It's good old Flanders in the top lane.
Really?
Yep, Ned Flandre.
Oh, no. Is that the reason why he found himself in the solo lane? It's my keyboard.
His mouse drew him down there.
Yeah, my keyboard and mouse did it for me.
It wasn't me. It just compelled me. It's like what are those items in Dungeons and Dragons which are like possessed? And he's just like, yeah, it took control of me. I lost my charisma check and just brought me down to bottom lane. There's nothing I could do about it. Sorry, sorry, team.
My heart was in the top lane, but my body was in the bottom lane. I can feel that. I know that.
Yeah, and then unfortunately Shelly have to take 4 of my towers. Happens, you know.
Unlucky.
Unlucky. So yeah, Richie just trying to find out what the problem is with his peripheral, whether we need to swap in a new... I saw you, Fandre. Whether we need a new peripheral, whether we have a third peripheral. I remember back when I was in Europe, we were watching, it was one of the Russian players, I think it was Alex Each, and it was just like, we were trying to swap in a new keyboard, but it was like a keyboard that was like literally 20 years old or something, and no one had another one. They're like out of production. And it was just like, so now what? What do we do?
That's
oh no! So it was literally just trying to like find it. Can we get like, literally, we were trying Amazon at a certain point. It was like, can we get day delivery? Because you can do day delivery in Germany. It just didn't happen. Yeah, it was just unfortunate. Eventually, we did manage to find one. Apparently, I believe the company just had one spare miraculously, but he had to drive it over, so we had a prolonged pause. Yeah.
See, that's incredible. That's a good story. But you know what I would have done? You find out that there is the same keyboard in production, you don't tell them. Feel like you gotta learn to go with a new keyboard now. Yeah. This is life. You can't be 20 years in the past, man. I'm sorry. You can't do it.
Remember, guys, this is only our second series of the day. We have a big old title match coming your way, and that'll be EDG and Rogue Warriors. That's going to be happening in Shanghai, right behind me and Raz, in fact. I can actually see the audience is filling out as we're going. That'll be happening in 32 minutes exactly on the dot as I see the timer ticking down. So make sure to tune in for that one. We will be cutting away from Chongqing for this matchup, Snake versus T.o.p, and diving straight into our title match. So make sure to stick with us. If you want to go away and come back, then it's exactly 31 minutes and 45 seconds from now. We are back into the Champions Select. Here we go. T.o.p taking away the Tarek, Braum, and Aatrox. And hey, what were you just talking about, Raz? Our first big Graves? Well, we have it.
How did they get the Graves? That's the one thing that I expected him not to get. But you know what? Now T.o.p, it's going to be a lot easier for them in the draft. It doesn't mean that they insta-win the game, but it means that they can just go along with what they've been practiced on stage with the most. So might be another gold funneling composition surrounding around XX.
Yeah, it's one of those eternal questions. It's like, why does Fen continue to get Irelia? We don't know. Why does XX keep getting Graves? We still don't know. But on Snake's side, they have taken away the Lucian, the Talia, and also the Nocturne from the jungle, and first picked the Swain. So putting a lot of stock in this pick once again. And speaking of Miss Irelia, she will grace us with her presence on Snake's roster.
There we go. I wonder where she's going to be heading up. I mean, Flandre is a fantastic Irelia player. We haven't gotten to see too much of it. Towards Fogwell, you would expect him to pick it up, but that means that he would be playing that towards the mid lane or the bottom lane if they swap up. So there's still a lot of questions towards how their Snake is going to be utilizing the Swain and the Irelia, but that just means they have a lot of skirmishing potential around that pick. So I'd expect Snake to play towards Irelia a little bit more often.
So T.o.p are going to take the Morgana. I actually like it as a small takeaway from also if you're pairing the Swain alongside in the bottom lane. We've seen a very strong combos come out of that, but also nice to have on their side as well.
Yeah, I usually see Pyke, Morgana, Swain. I mean, it's not going to happen in this game.
It's got so many pairings.
Yeah, you have so many. It's just surrounding the fact that when you have the Morgana end up binding you, you can follow it up with, a good example would be a Shen taunt. So just whatever follow-up comes through, you'd expect it to be a very lame bottom lane because Morgana's wave clear is pretty damn good if she has the gold to just put it towards her dark, her soul?
Yes.
Soil? What is it called again?
Tormented Soil.
Tormented Soil, I guess that's right.
I hear every analyst call it something different, like Black Soil, Desecrated Soil, Poison Soil,
Unhappy Soil.
Like unhappy Soil. I'm going to call it that. That's hilarious.
There we go.
And there's a Darius. You said last game you wanted to see another Darius. You're going to have it. Oh, yes. The Nautilus comes out, and you're like, why are you so excited about the Nautilus, Pauls? Well, it's because we've seen Snake run this combo before, the Irelia in the jungle, with the Nautilus being the one to set the Irelia up.
Yeah, we talked about it too coming into this one. This is the composition that took down EDG 2-0. So Snake now finding themselves with Irelia jungle, Nautilus mid. That is 100% a gold funneling. That is also really strong in skirmishing. So if T.o.p has Graves as their jungler with perhaps another funneling, they're going to lose out in skirmishes now that they don't have the Braum paired with it. So it's actually T.o.p and just the 2v2 alone that should be struggling.
Hectic. I love it. Snake are going to ban away the Zoe from the mid lane, and T.o.p will respond with their Shen right here. And they're very well aware of Snake, what they're doing right now, because they revealed their hands. So it's like, okay, how do we start taking away tools to buff up this Aurelia? Well, Shen's going to be one of them, one of the big ones for certain. And Snake, over to them. What did they want to take away that would potentially damage their comp? Well, definitely Fiddlesticks. That's a good one for certain, because he would, like, as Aurelia's dashing around, Fiddlesticks just hits the Terrify, and it's all over.
And so just a lot of pick potential in the bottom lane. Bottom lane is what we're looking towards here. Just one Morgana. Could even be a mid laner, but you would expect it to be the bottom side of the map. I wonder what T.o.p is going to get for themselves, because banning the Shen means you don't get the Morgana-Shen combination very obviously. And Snake should have the first pick at things in the bottom lane. So if I'm Snake, look towards it. Yeah, I was about to say Pyke, because we talked about Pyke and Morgana being a fantastic combination. We saw what Cat could do with the Pyke last game. So Houdier, I expect him to pick it up for himself.
I mean, this is actually the bottom lane.
City!
We saw this comp actually just come out from T.o.p last game. So Snake was just like, your composition? You made this? I made this. We're going to have Swain and Pyke most likely in the bottom lane.
And I just love it as a denial, because Pyke, Morgana, fantastic in lane. We've seen that in the LCK. But also because of Pyke and Darius in team fights, the execution that you get off of both of their ultimates.
That was dirty.
Very dirty in team fights. So now T.o.p doesn't have that available to themselves, but the big cow could be a proper replacement.
Yeah, it comes into the bottom lane there alongside Morgana. Galio will go back into the mid lane here, this time for T.o.p. So we've got a mini cannonball happening here. You send the cow in, you follow up with the big Colossus. And now Snake over to them. They just need a top laner, I believe. Yeah, they have bot lane, mid lane, and jungle completed. So it's just going to be a Mundo to round this one out.
A lot of front lines there from both teams. Let's say the Alistar and Galio is what I'm looking at T.o.p's side. I wonder if that's going to be a fed Galio, as in he's going to get some waves. If he isn't, if he's a support Galio that Snake put out in the last game, then it really is going to be hard for them to have a real front line, because both of them were going to be working off support gold. So Alistar and Galio, you don't want them to be just, let's say, the
butt of the
peasant duo. Just no gold going into their pockets.
Yeah.
So that would be unfortunate, and if that's the case, then they lose out in team fights. They have a lot of engage still, so engage potential still there if they ever find somebody.
Yeah, right now I'm just kind of thinking about this Darius, right? I'm like, does Snake have enough like burst potential on their team to remove the Darius in the fight? Because if you just have like a big beefy bruiser comp, Darius loves that in the team fight. He could easily get to 5 stacks, and then he starts executing people left and right. So we're looking towards answers right now for what's actually been left out on the table.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I want to see what they really can do really early on, because Aurelia Nautilus, a lot of CC there, of course, but also if Aurelia gets rolling like she did in the last game, then that's going to be enough damage, consistent damage to take down the Darius.
Yep.
It's always in the snowball potential that you have to watch out for. If he doesn't snowball, then your fears are realized. Darius is going to run a lap. If that's not the case, then Darius is going to be very hard stuck in these team fights. Being there frontliner, he's going to fall very quickly.
Yeah, you can also put him down in the cage, kind of like the Beijing RNG cage with the Aurelia ultimate. So it's like he can only start hitting people inside that, because if he wants to walk out, he becomes disarmed, and then he can no longer stack. So that's also a nice solution to Darius in these fights. On top of that, but just get in the cage with him. That's the main thing. Yeah,
and really just find your windows, because around Baron fights, Dragon fights, if they just allow the enemy team to start up on it, they can get a real good flank position around their 2 engage points of Galio and Alistar. So that's still really good engage. They don't have to be long-lasting, frontliners, but as long as they see the windows, the openings to start these fights, then Snake could take it. Well, they could lose out in the fight. So I want to see what these fights look like. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Listen to this, Raz.
What's up?
You know, Lies, what do you think about him as a player?
Oh.
Pretty good. You feel like, he's generally be doing well on multiple different champions, and he's got like,
I would say that I think right now he's about an average top laner. And that's not a bad thing. I think right now he's just seen as a role player around their core fronts of Chocho, Goon, XX. There are too many players that are taking the mantle for the team. So he's just essentially do what you got to do. Your job is just not to die in the top lane. If you get pressure from XX, then it's only because he's gifted that to you. Yeah. So right now he doesn't get the respect. And remember, that was what happened with Xiao Al in his first split as well. So I'm giving him leeway. I think right now there's a reason why they're still bringing him on.
Yep.
There's still time in which if you put the eggs or fruits or basketballs in his basket, then he can succeed with it. He hasn't done it yet because he's a little bit too green as a player.
True, and you've pretty much hit the nail on the head, because what I have for you is he only has wins on one champion so far in summer, and that's Darius.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and if, as you were saying, like his role is basically to go into a fight and just not die. Well, what does Darius want to do? He wants to just survive, get his stacks up, and then go dunk, 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 dunk.
Yep.
So that's pretty much it. The team have recognized that fact, and they're just like, all right, put him with Darius, and then who's able to contribute.
Essentially, you're right. His success is the team's success. There's never going to be an issue or a situation much like Marin. I'll say Marin is a player that he can succeed within his own lane. He's a playmaker, but the team will still fall through. So in the last split, when Marin was brought on, they would focus so much in putting gold onto his pockets, or later on he would join the fight so he can actually end up getting the gold, the kills. So his success would be the utmost importance.
Yes.
It's not the case for Lies, so that's a change up right now from the team as a whole to play towards Boom and Cat.
And again, guys, apology for all the delays that we had today. I know there's been multiple peripheral issues and also just delays getting into the game. We have another one flying your way. It is a visual bug as the players trying to load into this one, so we are just restarting some clients. We're giving it the old turn it off and on again solution.
Excellent.
And see if that one will work for us. If not, then we'll try and dig a little deeper into the problems. But recently, I know just across the board, not just in our region, that there have been delays. I honestly think it's attributed to the fact there are so many weird champions hitting the Rift that have never really interacted with each other before. So,
it's just, I mean, right now, somebody's opened up Pandora's box.
It has, yeah.
Like right now, some tournament realm, maybe it's the Turkish tournament realm. I'm putting it on them. Somebody there opened up someone opened up the Pandora's box, and now literally all of the bugs you would ever imagine is happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Can't get in a champ select. Can't
use Ornn ultimate. Remember the Ornn ultimate bug?
Can't use the Ornn ultimate.
The Talia ultimate bug? Yeah.
Unlucky. There's just too many things happening at the same time. I'm telling you right now.
Pandora's box has been opened.
I'm looking at the Turkish server.
Why Turkey?
I'm an investigator. You can't question me.
Oh, okay, that's true. It's all based on the hunches, isn't it? And then you find the evidence later. I got you.
That's my gut. It's my gut feeling. I'm gonna
Detective Conan
take the plane ride over before I go to Dalian. I'm gonna get it solved in one day.
Yeah. Make it a round trip.
There we have it.
Hit the ground and you're like, guys, I've got it. Solved.
I'm gonna need a camera crew from LA so I can actually make a movie out of this.
Detective Plasm on the case.
A lot of these movies are real, by the way. They're not really not scripted in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I mean, it's a well-known fact that CSI is a documentary and not a TV show. Yeah.
And you essentially always have a camera on Denzel Washington because a lot of things are gonna happen, no matter what.
True.
Bank robberies, him being randomly being an officer of the law.
Yep.
This is just a natural part of his life.
Follow him around. Just remember, guys, in 21 minutes from now, we'll be coming in with our title fight of the night, EDG versus Rogue Warriors. That'll be happening live in Shanghai. And right now, the audience, I would say, is probably like a 70% capacity. I know the whole arena has been done up as well for EDG. I don't know if you were walking in Raz and you saw the there was full life size cardboard cutouts of all of the EDG members.
Yep.
So that was fun walking into. There's also a photo booth in there as well. There's a lot of stuff out front. So if you ever get the chance to come to Shanghai, hit us up. And yeah, have a good time because this is a fantastic arena. And there's always something new happening.
Yep, I had a few of the LCK people, Achilleo specific in particular, that got a chance to see EDG go up against T.o.p, just a little bit of it. So, you know, you get the chance to come over here, you really see an excellent venue. And even Mankin mentioned towards EDG versus Rogue Warriors, it's going to happen later on in the day. Both of these teams, Rift Rivals representatives, excellent teams right now in the Western Conference. Only real team that's dropped a game, of course, is EDG, but they're known as the Machine, and they can come back up, had their success at the past Rift Rivals, so it's going to be fun to see who ends up going there with that momentum. No one wants to lose a set going into it. It looks like the handshakes coming across from both these teams. We're about to get into game, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we are. Now, I'm going to give no promises until we're actually in game.
Now, I'm a confident man. My gut, my investigative hunch tells me these champions are already on the Rift.
All right. Well, as a good co-caster, I'm going to stick with you, Raz, to the bitter end. I'll die on this ship with you, Captain.
That's very grim. Why do you think we're dying on this ship?
Because yesterday you voted for Invictus Gaming and you went down with that ship.
But I'm back.
I'm back from the depths, just like Nautilus.
Just like Nautilus, just like Pyke. Guess what? Pyke is literally Nautilus in a suit. Putting that out there. A lot of these revelations.
Need to digest that one for a second.
A lot of these revelations you're about to find out in this stream and this stream alone because Raz is on the case.
Razzleplasm. It's going to come out with the hard knowledge drops. Yeah, unfortunately, we are just still waiting to get into game. So, to be honest, I think the coaches just maybe wanted to just sit down. They've been standing up for a long, long time.
There are times where you get baited. I remember when I was out back.
Outback in Australia?
Outback coaching Dignitas. You gotta let me talk, Mr. Fox News analyst.
You interrupted me earlier. You were Fox News. All right, let's take a look at the compositions once again. We are slowly encroaching onto the rift once again. Pike's down into the bottom lane. Maestro, of course, will be moving to the mid lane, so do not be alarmed. We will still have the funnel strategy for Snake.
Yeah, you got Hook City coming out of Snake here. You're talking about it, so I want to see what Snake's got cooking. Early game should be super sick from this side.
All right, here we go, ladies and gents. We're finally onto the rift in game 2. I'm going to hand it over to Chongqing. Only Marin.
Only Marin. Hope he gets to see at least Marin once. You know, before you leave the stadium, you want to see him before he heads back to Shanghai.
That's true, yeah. Like, these people have literally followed T.o.p to Chongqing to the Snake Pit. And he didn't even get to see Marin. I know he's backstage, so
he's there.
He's definitely there.
He's sitting over there. That is such a good skin. Wait a second.
Talking about Pike?
Hell yeah.
He's only got one skin.
I mean, there's a few chromas to it as well.
Oh, yeah.
Still looks great. Looks fantastic. Oh, well, you've been spotted.
Oof. Black Cleaver. Oh, I guess Infected Cleaver. And XX will go for this early invade into the enemy jungle. Here we go. So starting on top side of the map, Lies is just going to give a nice little bleed there over to him as well. And we can take a look at the Keystone Masteries. It's going to be a Ready Running Conquerors, nothing new there. Same with the Darius. And we're going to have Phase Rush on the Swain. Meanwhile, Snake are actually pushing into the enemy jungle, but also taking away this red buff. So now, it's about what the next moves from the jungle is.
It's just interesting to see them immediately challenging SOFM, because you wouldn't expect invade immediately with their composition and with that style, but it's XX saying that not only will I get the mid lane farm and push you into your tower, but I'm also just going to be taking your full topside jungle, so you better do the same.
Just watching XX path through his jungle. Yep, he's heading back over to his own jungle. So we're just cutting the map in half right now, right down the middle. And we can take a look at this bottom lane. So it's Swain and the Pike coming down here. Udyr is able to push forwards, and Cat is like, well, what are you going to do? You're a level 1 Alistair. No combo for you. SOFM is starting off this old funnel into the mid lane. Oh, hello, that's a lot of damage. Chocho has to flash away on this one. No follow, but Udyr finds the Bone Skewer onto Cat. And already, Snake's bottom lane starting to dish out the pain.
Thankfully, Chocho still has TP, so he can TP back into the lane, but that means that's a mistake that you've made that you can't undo. So Chocho and Cat suddenly cannot have a bad skirmish at all versus the Swain and Pike. It's going to make it super easy for SOFM, who is already in the bottom side of the map trading sides.
Yeah, XX immediately moves in, and here's Goong in from the mid lane as well. So now having a bit of a trade up here. Oh, Cat with a double knockup right into the lockdown. Here comes XX from the jungle. Udyr jumps away, but it's going to be first blood over to XX.
And just like that, the communication was so decisive. XX was challenging the blue buff, but guess what happens? Bottom lane skirmish, 2-man knockup from Cat, and he's already there. XX heard his calls, came in to follow up. So you could already hear that the communication on the side of T.o.p is so on point.
Really nice stuff, and this is again T.o.p leading in the early game, Raz. Fantastic start out for them once again, and this was led by the madman in the bottom lane, Cat.
Chocho TP's back there as well, so you get the immediately followed up on by Graves, Morgana. So well played, and it was, as you mentioned, Cat's excellent headbutt pulverized to do it.
That wasn't even off of a flash either. That was just walk up, slam, bam, and you've got the kill.
Because they didn't expect it. Yeah. They don't expect it. Chocho head back to base because they had a proper skirmish. So Udyr and Wogor saying, yeah, we're doing very well in this lane. There's no way we actually end up losing this out. We even sent someone back. So Cat just goes in for headbutt pulverized. They expect just one cow, but what they got was the entire cavalry.
Yeah, yes they did, Raz. I'm just looking towards, again, this duo, the Nautilus and the Aurelia. Very difficult to go toe-to-toe with. We'll do a lot of damage in the early game. And already level 4 on Soraya, of course, looking to gun towards that level 6 as fast as possible so we can get to these skirmishes. There's the bone skewer, he tries to dive away this time. All the binding actually lands onto the Swain this time. And Cat's going to find the lockdown. Guoguo walks it back to the tower, and Chocho, massive punish in from this bottom lane.
Yeah, thankfully Guoguo still has TP himself, so he's going to have to expend it. Actually, they have quite a few ways to heal up within the lane. So there's a possibility that he can stay a little bit longer just to pick up the wave under tower. This is ridiculous.
They were here just for the crap, not for any assistance into the bottom lane. Yeah, they'll take down this one. There we go. 96 gold in the back for SOFM.
It looks like Nautilus has a mind of his own. So this is where you get to a point where we already made a mention that we expect a lot of plays mid lane, but because of how pick-oriented both of these bottom lanes are, it's literally both junglers on edge. They have to be bottom lane. They know that something's going to happen. You either have to defend your bottom lane or look to attack. This is hilarious. I feel like most bottom laners hate what's happening in the meta because anything goes. It's the Wild West of the entire laning phase.
It really is. I mean, it just feels like every lane is either top lane or middle lane now, and the irony is that top lane is probably one of the weakest roles in terms of influence. It's actually mid lane, bot lane, jungle that's really doing all of it right now. They're stealing the fun away from top lane. Make top lane great again.
Yeah, but you know what? It feels like they're in an in-game queue. They're just waiting, biding time to find out if their bottom lane is winning or losing. So when they finally join the fight, it's like, all right, I guess I'm playing the game at a 2k gold deficit. This is how I'm starting this one off.
We've already spoken about it as well. Lice has found so many wins on this Darius pick so far in the top lane, and that's just because he will just join his team later. You know, we see many of these Mundo Darius matchups pretty much go even because junglers just don't want to go top lane. You can maybe find a kill pre-6 onto Mundo, but it's too much of a risk of a time investment that you gank the Mundo, he pops ult, and he simply walks away from you. So we're just seeing these matchups go even.
We've seen definitely botches to those dives, essentially, especially if you have a Graves. Sure, you say Graves, Galio, you can still make it happen, but if you play that dive, defense of the dive very well, Graves is never going to be able to auto-attack you unless if he really uses his flash as well. Yes. So it's just a difficult moment. Let Lies do his thing in the top side of the map and make something happen bot side. Oh, wait a minute. Looks like they're trying to, you know what? No,
hello.
They're saying, screw you, Raz.
Just as we say that,
we're heading top side. You can't stop us.
Going all the way around the long route. I think it's just going to be red buff, yeah. So it was actually Gung heading up there from moral support, just saying, hey, we're controlling bot side, top side, sorry, of the map. He's going to get red buff, but then, of course, gives very instant information to SOFM, who is in the mid lane, to rotate towards the enemy red buff itself. Yeah,
good defensive vision from SOFM. Good understanding that he needs to be consistently playing towards the bottom side of the map. Because if he ends up just sticking mid lane, allows Graves to take his red and Raptors, then he just loses out on so much experience here. Doesn't want to have XX claim both sides of the map.
So there we go. Red buff over to him. He's picked up the early Tiamat as well. In rotation. Get away from me! Blindsided. Maestro pops up the shield. He needs to be the bodyguard. Nice blast cone. There we go. SOFM. And his buddy, Maestro, will make it out alive because Cat was coming there as well for a piece of the pie.
That was a good challenge from T.o.p. Also, if you ever get them to commit to the fight, even if it turns out no one dies and they're all healthy, that's Snake losing waves mid lane because they had pushed mid lane first. So T.o.p. right now are really focused on the minute details. The details of push out, now we can challenge them. They're always challenging Snake in the early game to match them. Match them in terms of the mid lane CS, match them in the jungle challenging. So, I mean, Snake are doing a great job. It's surprising that's the case, but they're still behind 2K.
Indeed, they are trying to play catch-up, but this time they're not bleeding out as hard as they were the first time. Also, we have 4 members with the perfect timing on the stopwatch, so they can mitigate a lot of the big dives of T.o.p are looking for them at least once and buy themselves more time to try and funnel more into this Aurelia instead of it all just falling apart, and then we get another situation like game 1.
I want to see what XX does here. He actually goes to the mid lane to clear, but because Galio's been doing quite well in his own farming, it just seems like it's going to be Graves that's challenging jungle farm. So he's not really pooling CS underneath him. That's why Aurelia has a lot of gold underneath herself, just from the wave she gets from mid lane. But it's interesting to see that Graves is saying, I'm actually just living in the enemy jungle. Looks like they're diving.
Cannonball into the bottom lane. That's that perfect time we were just talking about. Bahudia jumps away momentarily. He's actually away from the fight so far. That's a Chocho whether he can line the stock banning or not, but it's a glacier-like projectile. Yeah,
no.
We just walk away from it. So actually, that gank doesn't get any kills, but now we have 4 members in the bottom lane for T.o.p for first tower.
Wastes time, but look, take a look at this. Pyke and Aurelia are looking at a flank, so Snake wants the fight here. at least trying to force T.o.p away from the tower.
Good stuff, yeah, just identifying the fact that they had Aurelia heading down, plus the 4th member in Maestro. Vision's Vent Power just catch them going back to base right here. So Snake, successful defense, though that was a good amount of damage onto that bot lane tower from T.o.p.
Yeah, you like to see the dives coming through from T.o.p. Very active. Weren't anywhere near this active last split. So it's nice to see this kind of new flair in them.
Yeah. It's different and it's good, I think is the biggest thing. You know, it's not gimmicky, it's not cheesy. That previously we've seen that from T.o.p, previously Dan Gaming, it was the 20-minute Baron or bust. Now it's actually creative and good and strong and happens, it works consistently, you know, and there's room to grow on it, you know. It's just not, it's not a one-trick play like the Baron play, because from there, what do? You rush Herald, like it's not the same. So with something like this, it's transferable skills that T.o.p are building.
Yeah, it's nice to see. You know, having the improvement that they have at the very beginning of the split seems like going into the playoff makes a lot of sense, like in terms of with the trajectory that they have and the Western Conference as well. It looks like this team can hit that 4th place spot. It's going to be a challenge between them and OMG, but I'm liking T.o.p's chance.
Definitely doing well so far. Meanwhile, SOFM and Maestro are going to get themselves yet another crab over to them. Superior 2v2 right here, going to be feeling pretty good about that one. 123 gold now, scaling up to that. Just making sure they need to stick together as they move back towards mid lane. SOFM has a penchant for going face first into danger.
Yep. Definitely getting forced out of those directions though, because he needs to be able to pick up the mid lane wave, but they're saying, no, you got to take the long way, buddy. You ain't going to come back here. So it's nice that T.o.p are recognizing that, pushing him back to the mid lane wave and saying that we're actually clearing out Dragon. This is Infernal Dragon. This has to be contested by Snake.
It has to be. I mean, literally, this is 4 Infernal Dragons in a row in the series.
There's a lot of Infernal Dragons.
Yeah, there was 3 in the first one, back to back. I think the game ended before we saw another one, and now we have another Infernal Dragon.
Oh, good call here. So T.o.p
like
just
it.
completely moves away, but XX stays within the pit itself. So they have no idea he's doing it, even though they have the Skull Crab. Skull Crab is just saying, he's giving them false information. We know that they haven't come in this direction, which is true. But then the dragon makes his last try, and you're like, God damn it, they've been doing it all along.
He was the enemy, he was the spy, playing some Avalon right here. Unfortunate. And Snake will now see that. The dragon's gone down, and it was an Infernal Dragon. Next one's going to be Cloud, luckily, so it's not going to be back-to-back Infernals once again. But it's still a major boon for T.o.p early.
Oh my
Double
God.
knock-up. Cat, please calm down. Find another stun onto Guoguo, and this is a dead man. Just needs to file the paperwork. There we go, Cho with the kill.
2 times in a row, I feel like he's had 2 headbutt pulverizers. And every single damn time we've seen it, it's been 2 people being knocked up. Now, I understand the second time around, you don't want to clump up, so I can actually give a little bit of the blame to Maestro and Guoguo. But, yeah. Well, hustle. Hudia and Gogo. But,
hustle and bustle.
Hustle and bustle. But yeah, that time around, I was like, yeah, maybe don't clump up. But that time around, it's just great to see Cat finding those plays and getting the headbutt pulverized combos.
I mean, it's a bit of column A, bit of column B, but you've still got to praise Cat for finding those in the first place, because goddamn. And that's 2 kills now, picked up in the bottom lane. 1 over to Graves, 1 over to Cho. Now on the top side of the map, Shelly has still been untouched, and Snake are not getting anything cross-map. These are just happening in the lanes by themselves. The only thing now that we're looking towards is how is SOFM doing? How are we doing it? Well, he's 155 farm right now. He's still scaling on up. He's a pretty beefy already at this point, but hasn't really found a chance to show any of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of scaling up. You're talking about that one, but there's also 3 Rod of Ages immediately on the map. You'd expect some loot in this to be here, specifically from the Morgana that's been picking up waves bottom lane, but saying that she wants to be healthier with the Catalyst. Here we go, we might get some skirmishes.
Double Taunt comes in, here's Cat trying to lock down another Pulverize. Oh, and the Blade Cage comes through as well. SOFM under attack, but he is dead. Another knockup out from T.o.p. Welcome, free admission to the Bouncy Castle for you, Snake Sports. And they lose 2 more.
And Lies is there to back them up at the end of the play. So T.o.p. challenges the Aurelia. Even flashes through. XX had eyes solely on SOFM, nets the kill, and Lies comes in to just say, you know what, you're not going to be losing any skirmishes with Hudia coming in as well. Because Pyke does a lot of damage. Had his ulti available and was solely focused on XX, but XX was protected at the very end of the fight. Well done from T.o.p. as a whole.
I'll tell you what, Raz, it just looks too easy for them. You know, they go into this fight, There's some CC, layer it perfectly into Goong's ultimate, like it's just back to back, they find the kill, and all that Snake can do in these fights is damage control and who can get out alive. There's no even question of if we can fire back, it's like, okay, who are we sacrificing?
Yeah, and usually you look towards your items, you say you have your second stack of Rod of Ages, and you say, well, just buy me some time. When I get to my 10th, we look to fight. But they just find the opportunity, go straight for it, and so they can very naturally just utilize the HP that they get from Catalyst or the Rod of Ages as a whole, and just say, well, we'll just fight immediately. I mean, it's looking so good for us. 3K gold ahead, 4 kills and an Infernal Dragon. T.o.p right now are doing super well in the early game.
Absolutely. Top lane is still even for the Mundo and the Darius, but if we keep getting into these teamfight situations, into these prolonged skirmishes, etc., then Darius is going to shine even more. And Mundo is going to be kind of left by his lonesome, because if all his squishies are dead, then what's this poor Mundo to do in those situations? Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, okay, Cat finds another lockdown right into the snare and the soul shackles, running away from this one, flashes into the bush, but Huria, nowhere to go. And Cat has been an absolute hero in this game, 100% kill participation.
Yeah, he's been a monster. And with how this lane has been going, there's so many pick potential opportunities of Alistar, Morgana, with how far ahead they are, 2-0 and 2 on Morgana, that they can just do this every single time they come back to lane. Snake has to change the lane matchups. They cannot continuously send Hutier to the bottom lane with FLICKR because they are so far behind right now that it's only going to get worse. Right now, if I'm Snake, you send your members up top lane, everybody back up Flandre. If they can get a pick on towards Lies, excellent. But their ultimate goal should be look towards towers, swap up sides of the map, and force an objective trade because you're not in position to challenge T.o.p right now.
First tower of the game as well to T.o.p right here, Raz and the Infernal Dragon. We are still at a perfect game scenario. Goong pushing in this mid lane on top of Shelly spawning, and she's going to have a crack at this tower alongside SOFM and Maestro. Charging up, but it doesn't seem like T.o.p are super committed to actually following through here, so SOFM will get the damage onto the eye and take it out. So no mid lane tower just yet, but here comes the teleport. Hello, Chocho.
And it's Morgana too. Right now Morgana is doing quite a bit of damage, just fishing for Q her Dark Binding. So you're going to have to evade the entire premises. You don't want to be anywhere near that tower.
Nope, exit the stage left on that one. And that'll be mid lane tower down. And it almost, again, happened too easily. It's like we talk about mid lane tower so often as this big pivotal point around the map, and T.o.p simply just walked up and took it. Now they're moving towards the top lane, thinking about a dive onto Mundo.
Yeah, this is definitely scary. I'm just talking about the series as a whole. People have definitely come into this series thinking that Snake is going to smash T.o.p because of what happened last split. Hell, even talking about the beginning of this split, Snake are ahead of them in the rankings for good reason. We've been hyping them up because of the compositions, the cohesion around them, but right now in this series alone, T.o.p is smacking them around game to game in every fight you actually look at, even in the ones that Snake is properly set up for. Just better communication overall for T.o.p.
Frankly, it feels like the Trickster has run out of tricks for Snake, and T.o.p read them like a book, because they banned away all the stuff they didn't want to deal with, and then they're like, well, what's left? We can deal with it with what we're going to bring to the table. Plus the fact that Snake let the Grays go through. XX is having an absolute field day right now. It feels like T.o.p got everything they wanted and Snake didn't, and also its in-game execution, but not huge insignificant part of it was that.
Yeah, I wonder, because I would say immediately you're right. You have the draft that you have, and it makes it easier for T.o.p as a whole. But just from the execution alone, T.o.p can play a Teemo in the bottom lane. Wouldn't be too bad. And I would still say that T.o.p comes out ahead with how smart they are in playing around XX in the early portions of the game. Right now, even seeing this rotation, Flandre has to evade or just have to get out of here immediately. It's just smart. T.o.p is challenging you at every point, and they're utilizing Lies so damn well. I think that Lies coming into this game is always a question mark because Marin as a player is more talented, but Lies is proving that as a team, he's a better asset.
And ultimately, it goes back to one of the core principles of League of Legends. It's better for everyone to make the wrong decision than it is for one person to go rogue. But hey, if you're also making the right decision and everyone's doing the right decision, then it's even better, right? Like, I feel like Marin, when I watched him play with T.o.p, was doing a right decision, and the rest of T.o.p was also doing a right decision, but they weren't doing the same one.
Yes. That's true, 100%. Now that they have this going work, the biggest challenge is obviously not falling through and going towards the inner tower. So in this game, especially with how much pick potential Snake has, you have to play perfectly. You don't want to be having a rogue member mid lane. Right now, it's going to be Galio. Galio is the perfect member to place mid because if anything goes wrong, he just has his heroic entrance. That's great.
Heroic exit.
Entrance, I'll say entrance. Cover my tracks. Yeah. Just to enter these fights, help them out. He's even rotating here, so this is the proper way to play, but they do need to speed this up. They need to place down proper control wards in this side of the jungle, so Snake can't catch them making the rotation. They can just go in towards the jungle, not be seen, come back to the bottom lane, and it's all on the Snake and how they spend their time.
Push again into this bottom lane. It's a little unfortunate the only real range member to deal damage against this tower is Graves, and Chocho is split for the team, but he'll flash forward into Snake. Massive knockup once more by Cat. He just does not stop, and heroic entrance comes in. Hero landing onto 2. Looking for the charge up, triple taunt comes through, and the Blade Cage simply does nothing. T.o.p are pushing forwards, find another kill. They find their 3rd, and only lose Chocho.
8-1 at this point in the game. T.o.p are powered up. 4 people dead from Snake, and it was just no way for Snake to come into that fight. Lies was so empowered in that one, just looking for an extra reset.
Chocho, absolute beast of a human.
That was fantastic.
He was like, you're aggressing on me, let me flash into you and just take you all on at the same time. And T.o.p reading from the same page.
Instant. The moment they look to engage on him, he flashes in, presses his Zonias, and he's killed out. And it was all on Snake to find a second strategy, because the moment Flandre goes in, you have to commit to the fight. But committing the fight, when you see Lies getting his proper resets, chaos. Snake cannot commit. They have to back away, and by the time they do so, already lose 3 members.
He made that decision during the timer of Flawless Duet. That is a tiny window, but he's like, it's now or never. Either I flash away or I flash in. And on that dime, he does it. Fantastic.
And that's just faith at that point. Just doing that, you probably don't have all the information present to you, where your teammates are, if that's even the right fight to pick.
It's a hunch.
But he goes for it, and that's just faith, knowing that his team had been there for quite some time, and they're going to be able to follow up. So T.o.p are right now playing perfectly. It really feels like a perfect scrim day. Like, it just feels like you get into the studio, business as usual.
I feel like we've come full circle, Raz. We were talking about hunches, following your gut. You know, as a detective, well, Detective Chocho was just like, I'm going to follow my hunch on this one. I'm going to initiate. I found the perpetrator. It's the entirety of Snake Sports. 8-1 in this game. Almost a 10,000 gold lead. 5 towers to 0. Own a single kill and a single Cloud Dragon to Snake's name currently. It looks like game 1. It might actually be worse than game 1 for Snake, because this is yet another demolition. Yeah,
it's a proper smacking. And it really feels like Chocho, before he made that play happen, really got his magnifying glass out there. You know, that millisecond of time, he's like, this looks like the excellent play. So now they're moving up the mid lane. Now they have the opportunity to move between mid and top lane, but the top lane's been pushed out so heavily from Guoguo, they can actually just fully commit to this mid lane tower. I wonder if Snake can even defend this. This is a real scare here.
Great question.
Oh, wait a
Lies.
second.
Hello. He's got full stacks on Flandre. They cannot choose to go for this fight, and Flandre can't walk back into him. Don't do that. Pops the ultimate right here. Dark Binding connects on to Maestro in rotation. Hoodia pushing forwards. Flandre staying on the front lines, but his ultimate is now down, remember, off of that play, and T.o.p can afford to play it slow.
All 5 members from both teams, remember now, it's just fishing for Dark Binding. If a Dark Binding comes from Chocho, if he lands anyone, they're going in.
Drags Cat towards the team, and Cat's like, go on, do it, square up, because I'll knock up all of your team once again. Ooh. Dark Binding flies through, doesn't find anyone, neither does the Bone Skewer, but T.o.p got what they came for. They find the inhibitor. Yeah,
I don't think Snake can look for a fight here. They have to back away. And this is a positioning now. T.o.p bought enough time, got the bottom lane inhibitor. Now they can base and look towards the Baron. Snake has to do something. They really need to maybe force the Baron, but if they do that, T.o.p will win that fight. It's a lose-lose situation.
It's a lose-lose, and in these situations you have to push beyond and actually just do the impossible. You've got to go for a Hail Mary play, whether that is a Baron Rush, whether it's just finding someone in rotation, sending up a trapped bush. Whatever it is in this game, Snake need to pull something out of the bag right now. Remember, they still have a fat Aurelia right now on 2 and 2.5 items, I should say. Sterix, Triforce, and the Tiamat itself, but we haven't really seen it do anything yet in this game.
And this is a position where you're really afraid for Snake, because sure, Aurelia has her 2 items. This is when she really feels empowered to just jump in. But if she jumps in, she's jumping into an Alistar and Darius. Darius is super good here, because you would usually say, even if you're far behind, we'll have to see if this skirmish happens. Who you hooking for? Who you trying to find? Okay, Kung and Chocho. But back to my point. Usually a Mundo that's behind still finds use in skirmishes and fights because he can just jump in and they're not going to be able to kill him. But the true damage, the extra bleed that Lies has picking up Darius means that that doesn't matter. Flandre doesn't even feel like a tank now going up against the Darius pick. So it feels like you throw bodies at T.o.p and they're just going to hack you down.
Well, T.o.p making play into the mid lane. Here comes the cannonball once again. There's split Mundo from the team. He goes in for the early ultimate. Can they burst him out though? There's the Blade Cage once again. It traps up the front line, but Flandre is dead. And the Meat Grinder continues to push forwards, grinding up yet another kill in the form of SOFM. The carry is down. Where's the gold funnel now, Snake? Because they find yet a third triple kill to XX.
25 minutes. 2 games in a row where it's pre-30. T.o.p has just slammed Snake.
In the home arena, in their house. It will be a sweep today, ladies and gentlemen. T.o.p with the 2-0 over Snake.
They're feeling good. They're feeling confident. Now going into their break, as the rest of the teams have a nice time in Dalian, T.o.p is looking excellent now.
Yeah, really good stuff coming out of T.o.p here today. Now moving to 3-3 in wins, actually evening themselves up with Snake with that win here today and equalizing their total wins and losses over series in the Snake Pit. And you heard it from the fans earlier. They had a small following with them here today. It was a majority of the Snake fans actually in the arena here in Chongqing, but you can hear it right now, or more accurately, you can't hear it because Chongqing is silenced.
It's just fun to see. I mean, looking at the standings right now, you have Rogue Warriors, EDG at the top, and now it's been tied at 3rd place. The fact that T.o.p ties with Snake, and you might even have a discussion now that T.o.p could be the 3rd place team of the Western Conference is unimaginable. We were talking about coming into this split. Coming into this split, we would say FPX. We would say Team WE. But now that T.o.p has come off so strong, if they can consistently output this kind of pressure, they don't have to take every win in the book. I'm just talking about performing competitively versus the top teams in the West. They will find themselves in that name.
And yet another funnel goes awry as I watch Raz try and take out a fly. That was magnificent. SOFM,
I'm being attacked.
Look at that damage. Did not work out well at all for him in this game. Guogu was actually the one doing the majority of the heavy lifting in the game alongside Flandre. But then you also look at the Morgana with a massive amount of damage. You even look at Cat right here, who actually, looking at the damage numbers, seems like he almost did the same amount of damage as SOFM. No, he did more damage than SOFM. Alistair did more damage than SOFM.
Unbelievable. And the reason for that is, you know what, Snake? SOFM is not touching any of those fights the moment the goal difference is that large. The moment that's happening, Alistair is going to take every headbutt pulverizer that's present to him. He's just going to keep going in there and slamming the ground, so that's why the damage looks so good for the boy. And I think Cat deserves that. Early game, excellent from him.
All right, folks, we are going to go to a quick break because we are, as you can see, sitting up behind us for our title match tonight, RW versus EDG. So we're going to catch you right after this.
想要征服他人，必先战胜自己。EDG 的队名就是鞭策我们的动力。